We're back. Another episode of Grip Wild's Men Who Matter podcast. So excited to be with you again. It feels like it's been forever, but it's only been a week. But today we're going to talk about some stuff that I think will impact you if you'll let it. Today we're talking about the difference between success and significance. And I want you to chew on this for a minute while we do our typical intro. Success dies with you. Your significance lives on. Your success will die with you. Your significance will live on. B, what's up, man?
Man, Steve, we had a little break last week. Got out of town for a few days. It's good to be back, though.
Yeah, absolutely. We are in Alabama, and Brandon and I both have kids coming out our ears. We collectively have a bunch of them, and all of our elementary kids were on spring break last week. And man, I went up to the North Georgia mountains and actually caught my first trout. Me and my oldest son, we hiked up into the forest down this stream river. It was amazing. It was so cool. So it was such an adventurous trip for me and my son both, and we both caught our first trout, and actually never caught a trout.
That's amazing. Not only did you catch it, you earned it. You know?
Yeah, we earned it. We hiked. I mean, the first day we tried like the typical thing, like, yeah, go down to this little tail race and just throw your bait in. You'll catch them. They swear they stock them, blah, blah, blah. 4.5 hours, we didn't get a bite, whatever. So 2 days later, I was like, you know what? We're going off the beaten path. That's typically what we do.
I mean, what do we always say? If you want to catch the fish that nobody gets, or hunt the deer that nobody ever gets, you got to go where nobody's willing to go.
That's right. Same way in duck hunting. I mean, those parts of that public land we hunt in Arkansas, you gotta work a little bit. Me and my 8-year-old, we worked. He worked. At one point, he's like, "Dad, my legs are burning. Are yours?" Because we were hiking down into ravines, and I said, "Well, son, my legs are a little stronger than yours. They're not quite burning yet, but they probably will shortly." But it was great, man. It was great. And you guys went out west, huh?
We went to some mountains. They were probably a little taller than the ones in North Georgia. We were in Utah. Went with my family. Got to spend a few days out there in the mountains and check out the snow, which is not something we get to see a whole lot of here in Alabama.
Yeah.
And, man, my son left part of his face on the mountain. Got a little over advantageous on his snow skis, but he's all right.
A little crash and burn.
He bounced back. He's all good. So it's good to be home back in Alabama, and it's a little warmer here than it was where I was last week. So.
That's right. Well, good deal, man. Look, listen, like I first said, hopefully you guys have been chewing on this idea of significance versus success, and this idea that your success will die with you, but your significance will live on. And today we just want to kind of peel that back. What does that mean? What does that look like? What do you mean success versus significance? And I think there's some takeaways today that could be very useful in your life that you can begin to experience some of the things that you're searching for. So B, let's dive into this idea of success versus significance. Like, you brought it up. Like, what's going on in your head with that?
So I've just been thinking, and so I looked up the definitions because I'm a nerd like that, and it really struck me when I looked up these definitions, right? Because here's my wrestle. I mean, we're working so hard. I mean, you guys out there listening, you get up every day, you're grinding, you're getting after it. And I feel like sometimes it's hard when you put that measuring stick up against what the world's doing or what the world says you should be, where you should be or how much you should have, or, I mean, it can be a little tough sometimes when you see, man, I'm not there yet. And I started thinking about, man, what is important? What is the bedrock of what's driving all this? Is it success? And I want to be successful. I mean, I think we all wake up every day and we want to be successful. We want to be, we want to achieve the things we set out to achieve, but is that really it? Or is it more than that? Is it significant? So I looked up the definitions. And so I really like this definition of success, which is the pursuit to attain wealth, status, or power. Mm-hmm. And man, when I read that, I thought, oh, it's got to be more than that.
Yeah.
The definition of significance, on the other hand, is a quality worthy of attention or importance. So significance to me is something that, man, is worth noticing. it's something that really makes an impact,
Yeah.
you know? And so I just started wrestling with these two things.
Yeah.
You know, what's really driving us, and what are we measuring ourselves against?
Yeah, and I think it can be tough because, me personally, I mean, I shared with you, Brandon, before. Yeah, I want to be successful. I can remember as a 7-year-old thinking, I want to be a millionaire. What? Fast forward, what does that mean, right, in this day and age? But I can remember that. I can remember wanting to be successful, I wanting to achieve. And it's been like that my whole life in sports and school and business and fishing, fishing competitively. And I want to be successful. But I think I have seen, and a lot of people have seen, that there is a flaw there. There's a gap there, right? Again, I still want to be successful. Like I'm still, I own businesses and I'm pursuing and I'm chasing, I'm grinding, I'm working. Because I go back to that definition of it, wealth, influence, power. And I mean, I don't know how much power I want, but I do want to build wealth for my family, and I do want to have influence. And so, yes, I want to be successful. But I think there's a trap there. And I know there's been a trap there for me in my life of looking up at some point and realizing, man, I'm not successful. Nothing I've done has worked. Nothing I've done has built wealth or influence or power. And I mean, what am I doing wrong? And what do I need to do different to achieve quote unquote success? But fast forward to now and seeing really the more in-depth element of my life and what I'm pursuing. Yes, success is important to me, but significance goes so much deeper.
Yeah, I think it's important that we point this out on the front end. Success is not bad. It's not an evil concept, right? I mean, it's not, if you pursue wealth or if you pursue influence or if you pursue a position, that's not a bad thing, really. I look at all three of those as they're really kind of neutral terms. In other words, man, if you kind of have good character, you're a good person before you have money, and then you come into some money or you work hard and you get some money, odds are it's just going to magnify your character. On the flip side, man, if you're a pretty rotten guy before you have any influence and then you get a platform, odds are it's just going to magnify those character qualities, right? So it's not about vilifying success here. That's not what we're going to do, because I think success is important because it's what drives us. We want to attain things. That's right. It's the drive and the journey to attain certain things. However, in the wrong context and with the wrong perspective, it can become the trap you're talking about. And the perspective that we're going to talk about is, man, what's that filter you put in front of it? It's significance.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you think about what is significance, and you go back to that definition, and really, if we peel it back, and we say this all the time, and hopefully you guys are catching on to this. And the reason we say it all the time is because it's for real. Like the significance peeled back, it goes back to people. And so success really affects you. Your significance affects, influences others, people. And so I guess, what does that look like? What does that look like compared to success?
That is such a powerful statement you just made. And I don't want to run by it too fast, because when you said that, it just popped in my head. Man, success really is about how can I add value to me? And significance is how can I add value to other people? And that's a huge statement, because I think it changes the whole way that I look at what I'm chasing, right? And I think that's also a sticky point for a lot of people, right? Because now we've shifted let's just say we shifted our whole vision from inward to outward. Mm-hmm. Well, there's this voice in the back of your head that says, man, if you ain't looking out for you, if all you ever do is just give it away and do stuff for other people, who's going to take care of me, right? Mm-hmm. Who's got my back? And I think that's that may be a real sticking point for a lot of folks, because at the end of the day, right, I want to make sure that I'm taken care of. I want to make sure my family's taken care of. But I think what we're talking about and what I see in my life is when I flip that lens around from inside to outside, in other words, how am I going to add value to other people? Every time in my life I see that I'm generous and I help somebody else, it comes back.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking about that from my own life, and this keeps coming up. It's how do I put myself in a position where it's enough, where I feel like whatever I've done, whatever I've achieved, whatever when at the end of it, it's enough. And I think, and I know for me in my own personal life, because I've done some pretty cool things in business and been a part of some crazy transactions, but it wasn't enough, right? Because I kept looking for the next thing. I kept looking for the bigger thing. But when I think about the things that I do with people, the activities to do, the way I help people, the engagements we have, the events we do, the outdoor adventures that we've done together, at the end of them, it's enough. Like, for perfect example, last week was one of the first times, I think, in a while that my family went to the mountains versus the beach. And most people don't know this about me, but I hate the beach. But everybody goes to the beach on vacation.
I think that's why we're good friends, because I could be all right about it.
And we went to the mountains, we fished, we hung out, we hiked, went to waterfalls, and for the first time in a long time, I left there thinking it was enough. Like, it satisfied me, because it wasn't only the environment, but it was with my people, right? It was with my people. And I think about all the times where I walk away from a situation and it's enough. Like, I'm good. Like, that was good. That was filling.
Satisfying.
That was satisfying. And I think that's what I'm trying to articulate here, this idea of why this focal point of significance versus success is so important to me. And it is because when I think about the significance element and what it looks like, and let's talk a little bit more about that, Brandon, what it looks like to be significant. But this significance is just how we're adding value to people. Man, it fills you up. It really does. It fills you up. And there's so many business transactions, quote unquote, successful pursuit, it doesn't fill you up.
I think we see it all the time when we look in the media and various arenas that we follow, whether it's outdoors or sports or athletics or entertainment. I mean, what do we see day in and day out, man? We see people who are at the top of the top, the best of the best, the A-list, the most successful. And a lot of those people, they still exist in this place where they feel like there's more. And so they've reached all these pinnacles, right? And I have those pinnacles in my life, and you've had yours, and we reached the top of these little mountains that we're climbing, and we realize, man, that there's just something else. There's a hole there. And I think that's a telltale sign when our perspective has gotten a little bit off center, is when you reach a goal that you've been working so hard for, and it just, like you said, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. So, and this is just a story, right? There's no, I'm not making an example of this person, but there's an amazing, it's either an E60 or a 30/30 on ESPN with Tom Brady. And they talk about like all of Tom's success, and his wife is very successful as well. All this success, and I think she's a supermodel who makes a lot of money. He obviously has been very successful, not only from a financial standpoint, but from wins and a career.
Nobody has more rings.
No, nobody. And the interview, and I don't want to botch this. Go Google it, right? But the interviewer asked, like, so what's your take on it? And he responds, again, I'm botching this, but he responds in this realm of, I thought there was more. I thought I would feel more. I thought it was almost, he was communicating that after all of what he has done and experienced and has, there was still a void. That it wasn't enough. He thought there would be more to it, and it's not.
Yeah.
And I think that just, again, it goes, and again, I'm not saying that Tom Brady is not living a life of significance, that he's not doing things that is impacting people, but it was just it's a great example of the story about the difference between success and significance. It's just the difference of the perspective of success and significance.
Man, I heard Tony Dungy, right? Famous football coach and speaker. And he took over the head coach job at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1996. And I don't know if you remember, you guys out there might remember, they used to have like the creamsicle orange uniforms back in the 90s. Like,
oh, I remember.
Yeah. The Bucks, right? So he takes over the team in 96, and his first meeting with the team, this is what he said. He came in to the room, the meeting room with all the players on the team, and he said, guys, we're going to win a Super Bowl. Now, that's crazy because if you go back and look at the history, the Bucks did not have a very good run there in the 80s and 90s. They weren't known for their playoff appearances. So Tony walks in, and new coach, and he says, guys, we're going to win the Super Bowl. That'll be a great success. But if that's all we do, it won't matter. And he said this, and it just struck me. He said, 100 years from now, no one's going to remember who won the Super Bowl in 1996. We've got to be significant. We have to make a difference for more than just 3 hours on Sunday. We got to make a difference every day in our communities, in our schools, in our families. And he's just highlighting that right off the bat to his team. And if you know anything about that, 10 years later, they won the Super Bowl. But I bet you his legacy in Tampa Bay goes way beyond a championship game.
Yeah, you just said a great word, legacy. You just use the word legacy. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, I know me. I look in the mirror every day and I think, man, how can I leave a legacy? I desire to, when I'm gone, to be remembered. And if we're honest and we really look at the people who are really remembered, what were they remembered for? And this is just me being transparent. Like, as bad as I want to be successful, and frankly, as bad as I would like to achieve millionaire status financially, I'm not going to be remembered for that. But I will be remembered, and I will have legacy on how I treated people, how I loved people, how I helped people, how I engaged with people. People are going to remember us for what we do with them, not what we do over here in our business. Or people are not going to remember me that I made the type of money I wanted to make. People are going to remember me about the relationships I had with them and how I helped them and how I loved them and how we did life together. That's the legacy. That's where legacy comes from.
Look, right? That's the legacy. That's the significance. The success is, man, drive for it. Have a business. Grow your business. Build wealth. Build influence. Build status. But what will last forever, what will last long after we're gone, is the relationships that we have. And like you said, how we influence people, how we help people, how we did things with people. Not what we did in the office late at night that nobody ever saw, but how we did life with each other.
That's right. And look, don't miss this. Like, you can be significant because your significance is how you're adding value to people. And I promise you, like, the takeaway today is that, like, add value to people. Yes, be successful. Yes, chase success. Look, I want to be successful financially because of what I want to do with that money, which is gonna impact people, right? But until I get there, everything I do, my focus has to be on how am I adding value to people. And I think if we'll do that, I know if we'll shift some of our focus to not just being success driven, but shift our focus to where we are focusing more on how do we create significance for our lives, and how do we do that by adding value to people. And where can you in your life begin to add more value to the people who are around you? You'll begin to experience a bigger sense of fulfillment than you ever have, which will give you more than success will ever give you.
Man, I think that's really the takeaway this week is success is not a bad thing, but success really is how can I add value to me? And when I'm gone, that success goes with me. Significance is how we add value to other people because that is what will live beyond us.
So until next week, even if you're tired of us saying it, you are a man who matters. Be significant this week. Encourage someone. It will make a difference.